Welcome to episode 1 of the First Tiny Step to Freedom podcast. Today on our show we have Mo Bitar, a good friend of mine and creator of the Notes app Standard Notes. It's encrypted, it's safe, it's convenient, it's lovely, it's the best Notes app you'll ever use that's also safe. I think we have Mo on the phone with us today. Mo, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Jeff. Thanks for the shout out, man. I appreciate that. Hopefully give me some traffic.
Oh, for the shout out. I thought you said the shower. All right. Welcome to the show. And for those who are not familiar with Standard Notes app, I am a user. I'm a paid user even. And he didn't pay me to say that. I paid him to say that. Catch us up a little bit. What's the short of Standard Notes?
Well, Standard Notes is a simple notes app. It's just meant to be simple and no more than that, with a strong focus on privacy, security, longevity. So all the things that are typically ignored in software products, like mainstream software products. So it's on every platform. It's on web, Mac, Linux, Windows, iOS, Android. And it's just meant to be like this notes app that you can just count on. It's always there. You can count on it to be there in the future, and your data is safe. Your data is yours. It's standard form of what a notes app should be.
Boom. I will personally say thank you. This is a dream I've had. Let's give us our data. I mean, it's a unique time in human history, I'd say, with the internet and technology. We haven't had computers for long enough that we're thinking about, digital formats that can last for a lifetime. But now we're at that. So I appreciate someone who's forward-looking. My next question. Your entrepreneurial story. How'd you get there in the sense of what made you launch out from having other jobs and to try and do it on your own?
I don't know. I think the fundamental problem with employment is that you are laboring to make someone else rich, and that someone else is literally just a couple offices away from you, and it's just kind of this weird I don't know. It doesn't feel good. You can get by, but it just doesn't feel good. Especially when you know that I could be doing this. That should be me. It's hard. I mean, you can say that should be me, but you got to respect the amount of effort that they went through to get to that point. But that's something that I want. That's something that I want to get to. And so I no matter which job I have, I'll tell myself, oh, I'm going to be here for just 2 years, at least 2 years. 6 months in, and I'm just like, I need to go do my own thing.
Totally. And so that perspective, I think, is true in that you do have to respect what they went through to get there. So how many months into this project are you now?
So I'm about 6 months in. I started in December of 2016, and I mean this might be my longest going project so far. So it's pretty good news.
And those 6 months in, have you gained a new perspective? Do you feel less bitter to those that made money off you in the past?
Oh yeah. I mean, I still, if I were to, my plans with growing this thing, the way I would employ people would not be Monday through Friday employment. My dream setup would be that every employee would be paid hourly, competitively hourly, so that it would equal the salary amounts that you would get full time with health insurance. But that hourly is your freedom, because with that hourly, I no longer own you. You choose when you want to work. You choose when you want to come into the office. If you want to take Wednesday, Thursday off, don't ask me. You're just not going to get paid for those days. And so being paid hourly competitively as a full-time employee, I think that's the next step in freedom of employment. And so that's what I hope to do once I start hiring my first employees.
And I respect that. And you've spoken to me about that in the past. And it was definitely an inspiring element to tie effort and pay that directly. I feel like one thing I'm curious though, how do you counter the incentive to drag out the hours? In that, as me on the Austrian economics sort of side of things, I believe that people respond to incentives. And if you have that setup where the longer someone works, the more they get paid, there is a natural incentive to drift and stretch the hours rather than being more efficient. So what's the kind of counter incentive there to make sure that people stay focused when they're working?
I mean, fundamentally, we have to accept with employment I call it 30% of that kind of slacking. I think that needs to be built in. You got to understand that no one wants to do something no one wants to work 10 times as hard as someone else and get, a hundredth or a thousandth of the result. That's just economically unnatural. And so we have to account for whether it's hourly, whether it's fixed, whether it's salaried, there's always going to be a slack factor. And I think that if you are in charge of your hours, you gotta, yeah, as a business owner, you gotta account for a 30% pad factor by the freelance or by the hourly employee. But that's just part of the cost.
Fair enough. All right. Now, this show is about freedom. It's about that feeling where it's like, yes, this is working. Yes, this is going. But before we can get there, let's start with the opposite. I don't know if that is feeling lost, feeling more meaningless, feeling directionless. So I'll ask you that question. I think we can relate to what freedom feels like, but when you feel the opposite of that, when you feel the lack of freedom, what does that look like for you?
What is the lack of freedom?
If freedom is the high, what does the low feel like for you? I'm sure it looks different for different people, their lows. So I'm curious, what does your low look like?
I mean, my low would be, it's tricky because I'm on a kind of new phase in my life where it's post employment, which is what I've dreamed of for so long. And during the employment phase, the lows were just kind of like coming home every day, 6 p.m., tired, exhausted. You just be like, what am I doing? I really need to get out, but not having any way to get out or anywhere to go. Because you tell yourself, all it takes is an idea. I just need that one idea, and sometimes that idea just never comes. And so during the employment kind of era of my life, which was really just 6 months ago, the lows were just every day, I would say. The lowest now, once, honestly, not being employed just solves so many mental issues. It's unbelievable. It doesn't solve all your problems, but it's just one less huge thing to worry about. And so my lows now would be not knowing what to do next. That is just the worst feeling. I saw this tweet by Jason Fried, the founder of Basecamp, the other day, and he said, "Seek less mentors. Don't look for others to show you the way. There is no way." And that last sentence, "there is no way," resonated so much with me because it's so frustrating trying to figure out what to do next. And you say, look at all these people, they figured it out. But the honest truth is no one knows what to do next. And that's depressing, and it's surpassable. You just got to hang in there.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so I feel like you listed two good, I don't know about good, but low points that you've experienced in life. And one was the employment low point of just feeling someone else is driving the ship. You really have a ceiling on how much benefit you can get. And then you have the more recent one of being on the entrepreneurial side, being on the self-employed side, and then the challenges that come along with that. So let's take the first one first. So that employment low, that lack of ownership low, there are many steps to get somewhere, but my vision is to digest these things so that they're acceptable. So I've seen you when you're working on standard notes and just cranking, just putting out content that is powerful from your heart, that has vision. So not how did you, the full step to get to the high, but what was that first step? What was that first step that now looking in hindsight, you say, actually that was a first step that led me on this long path to getting to where I'm at now?
So we're talking this like the first like this was like 10 years ago type of first step, or in recent like immediate times?
I'm thinking about the transition from employment to self-employment. So I guess as far back for you as that goes, maybe, yeah, when did it change from a dream, a hope, to you had forward momentum towards it? What was that first step of the forward momentum towards self-employment?
Here's why I was a little cursed. And once you taste kind of self-made, like I don't know, self-made sustenance, self-made entrepreneurship, you just cannot go back. It's just like my dog has tasted real meat, and he just cannot go back to his fake meat, like his dry dog food, no matter what I do to try to get him to eat it. So, once when I was around 20 in college, when the App Store first came out, so it was 2007, 2008, um, a few of my apps happened to find success on there back when there was just, virtually no competition. And I made some money, and I was young, and I was like, God, it just felt so good. And then, this and that happened, and, the App Store became unsustainable for me. It just became so much more competitive, and I guess I didn't have what it took. So I had to get a job. And, for the next 3 years, I just had various kind of software engineering jobs at various companies. And the first job was about 8 months in, and I got tired of it. Second job was just about 8 months in. Third job, I stuck around for a little bit, actually, about a year and a half. But I just had the itch. No matter where I went, no matter how good the circumstances were, no matter how much I was getting paid, nothing could kind of satisfy that itch to just go out and do your own thing, even if it meant you were not making any money at all.
So really, for you, it came from that first taste of success. That's what got you hooked.
Yeah, I mean, once I tasted that, it's you can't forget it. And so a lot of people are better off that they never do taste that, and jobs still suck for them, but I think they suck less than it sucked for me. Not for me, but for people that kind of went through the experience of building your own thing. Once you taste that, nothing compares.
Yeah, fair game. So the success was the push forward, but how did you even get that success? Not everyone puts something out there that could either succeed or fail. What was the inspiration? Were you young and dumb, or did you have a vision? What step did you take to reach that success, that early blip?
I mean, I was a kid. I was. The funny thing about doing things when you're not a kid, when you're like a teenager, is that you don't think about why you're doing them. You just do them because you just want to do things. Now we complicate things. Now when I think about doing something, it just got to make sense here. It's got to make sense there. It's got to connect with this vision, with that long-term plan. When you're younger, you don't think like that. And so the case of success in those cases were just kind of, I didn't expect anything to happen. I wasn't intending for anything to happen. I just wanted to put something out there to satisfy my own curiosity. And it was just beginner's luck, I guess.
I love it. All right, well, I think we'll round it there. I like what you said, Bit, about at a certain point you stop seeking mentors because there's no path. So, one way that people get there is through young, dumb exuberance, putting yourself out there. You catch a taste of something and it leads you 10 years down the road to optimism. So, is that the solution for everyone? Not necessarily, but it seems like it's at least one. Bit, I wanna thank you for your story. And so where can people find you? What's the website for the app? And yeah, your Twitter, wherever else people can find you if they're interested.
We're at standardnotes.org. So everything is on there. You can download the app on every platform. Twitter on Standard Notes on Twitter as well. So be sure to check that out.
All right. Well, thank you, Bitar.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right, folks, that rounds up our episode for today. I hope that was interesting. I hope that was helpful. Bitar's a good man, a good friend of mine, and the app is solid, so check it out as well. And consider that option. If you're considering a vision larger than what you have, as we said, there's no automatic step to get there, but try blind effort. Just do something, produce. Maybe that's a little boost to help you over your initial hump. It may not work, but it may.